Hello and welcome back to Forspoken. This is Enchanted, and I'm just kind of looking through what the different abilities, things we need to do are to upgrade the next few spells that I've got sorted out with. I'm also looking through any of my cloaks to see if there's any better ones I can use. And the Pelerine seems like a decent one for the upcoming fight, in case of critical hits. Because we're about to come into a quite tricky fight for this early section of the game. But yeah, there's three things we need to do as well with the magic stuff as well, which of course, the three things are use the shield spell to knock over enemies, which is going to be harder than I thought it would be in this section of the game, because there's not that many weak enemies you can easily knock over with the shield. Then of course the other ones are use the surge power to kill enemies, that means finishing them off, that are weak to that particular element, so weak to phase default magic, and also, but then there aren't many enemies in this area that are weak to surge magic of this type anyway, so right now we can't really do that, it's just kind of there in the background. And the other thing, the easiest one to do will be bind and then hitting enemies from behind when binded. But that seems a little temperamental, but that's what I'll be trying to do. But for some of the ones that are a bit more dangerous to just kind of do on the casual playthrough, I'll probably show off me trying to do them to kind of get an idea of how it works on a few enemies, and then grinding them out off screen, because some of them can be a little annoying to do.
Keep you from dying. Thank you very much.
Oh yeah, like it's you keeping me alive. Sure.
That's going to be my thing from this point on, because that otherwise it will stop me kind of like, and I'll be able to play more, more optimally in the actual thing. So here's our first rampart.
Never know what surprises might be waiting up ahead. Be ready for anything.
Yeah, thanks for the pep talk.
So this is going to be the final major defense. So of course Sila's going to be a little bit more desperate to keep us away. So this fight's going to be quite tough coming up. You may be able to guess what it's going to be. Oh, this guy again. Oh, two of them. And that's why this particular part of the game is a little bit tricky, because now we have to fight two of these ladies with the spears and the wings. So of course we know their wings are the weak spot.
Well, there's only one way onward. You know what to do.
Because you just be remembering, of course, that's you have to manually lock onto the wings. Well, at least that's the easiest way to do that anyway. But also, because there's two of them, you have to contend with a lot of very mean attacks at once here. Like these, there was always fireballs coming from anywhere. These fireballs are really the most dangerous aspect of this particular fight. Because as long as they can fly into the air, they can launch a bunch of fireballs at you, and that can be quite tricky if you're not expecting it. I feel I make decent use of my abilities in this fight, though. It's just kind of, I get a little bit careless at times with dodging and things like that.
We got this.
There's a little bonus damage to the other ones.
Nope, not working. Heads up.
Yeah, the reason I've gone for the rapid fire one is because it felt like it would be the best one for this situation, because that way we can pepper them with a lot of small shots. So even if the big one misses or doesn't get laid out, at least we've done something to their wings.
You're gonna love this.
Of course, bind's kind of useful as well, because it prevents them being able to take off.
Come on.
At least for a little bit. I was hoping as well to be able to hit them from behind and get stuff, but it seems like it's being a bit temperamental with whether they actually accept that I've done that.
Like that.
And that's partially why I'm going to be grinding some of those off screen because of how temperamental some of them can be to actually register that you're doing them. Like sometimes I could swear I'm hitting something from behind, but it's not counting because maybe I didn't build up the damage. It can be a little bit tricky to work out what the game really wants you to do.
Take that. Can you just not? Oh yeah.
And while some people might consider the lines like, oh, can you just not, to be kind of an example of what this game was initially made fun of for like overly quippy dialogue and things like that, I think that's a fair enough thing to say, really, when someone's... Especially when you're really stressed out. Of course you'd fall back on like old slang that you're kind of familiar with. She's not trying to be clever, she's just getting annoyed. And that's what people say in her area when they get annoyed, it's fair enough. That's part of why I don't really mind it when she does it, because she's a character that kind of makes sense to be using that kind of language, compared to, like, say, the Avengers, who are older and generally a lot more kind of, you know, portrayed as more mature, at least, and more kind of focused on things. Yeah, two of these people at once can be a bit of a handful. The fact that we only came in here with like half our possible amounts of healing items was not helpful. But one's down. We only have to take care of one more now.
Got him.
So it's going to make the rest of this fight a lot easier, because this one's almost done anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm clearly attacking from behind, but for some reason it seems like it's not quite counting even though they're bound. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. So again, that's part of the reason I'll be grinding some of those off screen. But at least show me attempting them on screen first though. I won't just skip a bunch of them and have you kind of guessing how I powered them up. So you'll know, for example, that for this particular, for bind ability I had to bind people and tackle from behind. You'll know that for the surge magic we had to finish them off with a surge attack, you know, that sort of thing.
That's over.
Quite. Shall we? It's not much, but you never know.
Hold tight. It's getting bad in here.
I really don't think I can hold it.
Great.
I quite like the designs of the monsters that were in the that were in the Breakstorms. I quite like all the kind of woven together from dark magic. It's a very fun visual thing. But of course we can't really fight our way through the Breakstorms, we just have to kind of escape it.
They don't look like animals or humans.
I believe they are life forms born from the break itself.
They're like my worst nightmares come to life.
Don't push yourself too hard. Our main priority should be to find shelter. There's a cave nearby. We should hide there until the storm passes.
Sounds good to me. Lead on.
The main problem I have though with the Breakstorms is they kind of make the whole game very dark while they're happening, so you can't really see the environments you're running through. Which is a shame because the environments are one of the strongest parts of this game's visual design. So they kind of are they kind of get in the way of exploration sometimes, and that can be a little bit annoying. But at the very least, a lot of them that like these big ones tend to be just kind of scripted ones. So once you've done the scripted ones, they tend to not really show up as much. Like the ones that aren't scripted tend to be a lot smaller.
I don't know why I want to go home. This place fucking sucks.
I do understand that may have been a bit intense.
Intense? That was batshit crazy. I might live on the streets of New York, where the cat is company, but I would rather be there, alone, than spend one more minute in this fucking hellhole.
Now try to get some sleep. Things will be better in the morning.
Yeah, sure. Much better. In case you forgot, I'm on my way to battle a boss bitch tomorrow. Fuck!
I kind of like that her sort of gung-ho attitude is starting to kind of fall apart a little bit here. Because it's easy enough to say, oh, I'm going to kill this person. But it's another when you're actually on the way to actually do it. There's a very different thing. It's no longer theoretical. Now she's actually on her way to it. So of course there's a lot more weight to it than there was when she first made the decision to do it. But at this point, she's too far in not to.
Feeling better?
Not really. I had a nightmare and it was 10 times better than this.
It is quite beautiful.
Yeah. In a everything here wants to kill you kind of way.
No, I just mean that even amongst the madness, there's a sort of delicate grace. Destruction and corruption are forms of creation in themselves.
Wow. You sound like a serial killer.
What?
Destruction and corruption are beautiful forms of creation in themselves.
I don't sound like that.
You absolutely sound like that.
Oh no, you absolutely sound like that. Yeah, see? Two can play at that game.
You're fucking stupid.
Well, perhaps not everyone has the sensitivity and subtlety required to appreciate the beauty inherent in chaos.
Sure, Hannibal.
Who? Oh, yeah. The joke.
Bingo. Well, before we set off, we might as well take a look at this floor plan that Johidi gave us.
I quite like that little exchange where they're kind of mimicking each other. It's quite cute.
Finally, we're going to the castle.
Forgive me if I'm not excited.
Well, I have to admit, though, Cuff does have a point. I mean, there's an Aurora Borealis going on up there right now, and the sky is, at this time of year, at this time of day, yes, entirely centered around this planet. But there's also just the whole fractal aspect that we get a good shot for here in this photo as well. There is an aspect of the game design here that is quite pretty, like the whole aurora up in the top left there that's kind of cracking the sky a little bit, and the whole, like, how tiny the sun looks in relation to, like, how big the fisheye effect to the rest of the area is. It's a very interesting aesthetic.
Damn, they did not hold back on the fortifications, huh?
Not entirely surprising for the so-called Tanta of Strength. We need to be careful. This is a woman who faced entire armies.
How do we get inside?
Countless thousands met their fate at the end of her blade.
Okay, listen, you don't have to...
Then she bathed in the blood of her enemies.
Okay. No one ever said that.
I meant in color.
Yeah, don't. Let's just try the gate first.
She recognises as well because clearly just editorializing and just being kind of silly. Like, we already know that before the Tantas were corrupted, they were very well liked by the people. And it kind of gives the idea that as the Tanta of War, rather than before she went crazy at least, Tanta Sala was more about finding the strength in the people that was already there
Then let's venture inside.
and making the best of best features. So let's into the labyrinth, shall we?
Almost charged in here.
I'd say there's definitely something interesting going on.
Partially because the more necklaces and the more capes we get, the better, because it'll give us more options for builds and things. Again, there's a reason I'm not, like, upgrading my cloak in this run, or my necklace and things like that, even though I technically can. It's because I don't want an early piece of equipment to overshadow all the other things I'll be getting later in the game. I want to at least have an excuse to show off other pieces of equipment, partially for aesthetics, but also for just kind of keeping things interesting, like, because I can then come up with interesting little builds and stuff like, oh, what powers will be useful for this particular fight. So, you know, it's a lot more fun that way.
Not a great welcome.
At least you got a welcome.
And yeah, here I try and use the shields in a cheeky way to kind of knock enemies over, but these enemies are actually quite tricky to knock over. I mean, I did pull something off there with the enemies that are weak to magic and everything like that, but as you can see, it's proving kind of dangerous to try and kind of play that kind of game at this stage, so this is why I'm going to need to kind of start grinding that off screen so that I'm not putting myself in unnecessary danger in the encounters that I need to do for the plot.
Sorry, not sorry.
Especially because at this stage in the game it's still quite dangerous to experiment in that way as well, because a lot of enemies, while these guys are weak to this magic, a lot of enemies in these areas aren't.
Here we go.
Especially as you get closer and closer to the bosses, and of course that's how they increase the difficulty as the enemies become resistant to the stuff you have.
Bet it did. That asshole's going nowhere. Whoa. I don't feel so good.
How are you feeling?
A whole lot better than
See,
I
I'm
did a
trying to
minute
use the
ago.
shield to knock him over, it just isn't really working, and it's just resulting in me taking damage.
We got this. There it is.
Hold on.
Yeah, kind of tired after
So I'll probably
that.
go to the earlier areas with large swarms of weaker enemies, and kind of grind a little on them just to get those special abilities just kind of done.
What's this doing here?
Who cares? I'll take it.
So it will also result in me being able to be more interesting in the way the fights go anyway, because I'll be able to not have to worry about, oh, I need to power up this one thing by doing this one thing a million times. I can just kind of switch to a different kind of ability or a different style of, like a more appropriate spell, like switching from shield to scatter shot if something's too dangerous up close, and not have to worry about the shield shot not getting powered up from that. See, if I can just kind of do those off screen, it'll mean I'll be able to vary my abilities a lot more frequently, because I won't have to worry about grinding one specific thing to get an extra single point in that magic.
Oh shit. So many of them.
You know what to do.
Ha! You're good, right?
I wouldn't say good exactly.
I quite like how these enemies as well, you can't really get a good look at because of the weird sort of, almost like hologram kind of thing they have going on with kind of like a weird break hologram. It means they're not actually showing the real model, it's showing kind of like a facsimile of the model, because that's what these are. These are a weaker facsimile of the enemies they're trying to mimic. Hence why the bosses are all called Lesser X.
Path splits here.
Choices, choices.
And when the path splits, it's always best to go down all the paths, because just goodies in jumble. So use that to kind of get an idea of where the actual end of the level is. Like, that's a chest, that's the end of the level. And just go in every direction other than the end of the level one.
In a pinch.
Do try not to waste it.
But first, every potion in here is going to be very useful because we are low. So this way, of course, we get a large number of these, which will be very useful for learning spells. Because sometimes you get a path that has a billion of these, and just they're really ludicrous.
Seems this is the end of the road.
Back we go.
Finders keepers.
So that's all those mana pools, a good 20 of them. Also went back for this item because I wasn't sure if it would be a potion or not. So although they rarely are potions when they're not in the battle room. Generally, in the battle room there are always potions, outside of it there are always crafting equipment. That tends to be the pattern. And often down one of these kind of secret paths, not that secret, but optional paths, you find something like this. You may recognise that glow at the end of the corridor. So let's go grab it, shall we? Because we'll need as many of these coins as we can get.
Dead end.
Then I suppose.
This is apparently a hard puzzle.
Oof, that was kind of tough.
Let's see.
I
What
agree
do we
with the
got
puzzle question mark backwards. But now we have more gold coins, and that's always nice. So time to go to that final door.
How many we got left?
Not many.
We've got just enough. And some firewood in case we want to camp. I think it almost said pamp there. Do you want to pamp later? I don't know. Seems like a euphemism.
Ready, Cuff?
Whenever you are.
Ooh, an Apicinodon. AKA Dragon.
We've been spotted.
Shit,
So
fuck,
you have to be
shit,
quite
shit.
careful because as we can see it's doing a lot of damage and it's resistance to our magic
Got you
as
on
well.
your toes now. Ah!
Look out.
So we have to be very good at getting away from him because we're not doing that much damage to him and he can do quite a lot to us.
Don't move. Eat it.
Clearly that's not going to work, it's way too big to bind. Thought it would be funny to try though. So instead of that, let's use Prime, shall we? Because it's one of our newer ones. You don't really use it very much. Let's put down a mine. And that does a decent amount,
Nope.
considering he's
not
resistant
working.
to it, but of course his weakness is actually his underbelly or his back and face, I think. So it does seem like I'm doing more damage when I hit certain points of him, so that's why the mines are actually quite useful against him, because he can land right on them and take a slightly larger amount of damage. And 75 is pretty decent for this particular fight, because you can see the amount of damage we're doing. That's a big chunk of what's already red there.
Yeah. Ah. Whew. Ah.
But yeah, this is a dangerous part in this game of exploring early, or doing optional things early, is you can come up with an enemy like this whose resistance to the only thing you have.
Got one for ya.
But it can make these fights a lot more fun though, because they're a lot more tense, and we have fewer, like we don't have many potions, so we have to be quite careful, and it really just kind of gets you, really helps increase your skill at the game in general.
Telling me that now?
Yeah, Surge Magic's always really good against bosses, because even if they're not, like, weak to it, it still does a good chunk of their health.
There.
So even if it's not going to be useful when it comes to, like... Oh, that missed, that was annoying. I was very happy I got to finish the dragon off with the mine. Mining the Amphicinodon was a very, satisfying thing to end it on. So let's head to the shrine, because it didn't drop anything. So of course the enemies here don't really tend to drop stuff because they aren't real? It's like a weird training thing.
Is that?
Time for a new necklace, but also another chapter of the story of the first Santa. Apparently she fought Susurrus for about a week. And by the time the fight was done, the whole area was on fire. That sounds like kind of a fun fight, honestly.
Wow, she's a badass.
It certainly sounds like it was a trying battle for all parties involved.
I do like gathering more information on the first Santa though. It's a fun little thing. And now we have quite a useful thing, increase our damage when Surge Magic is not fully charged, which means just in general, that'll be quite handy because it means when we can't use Surge Magic, anything else we do, we'll just do more damage. That's going to be very useful to have Shrift equipped. But first of all, let's continue our ascent, shall we, towards... Luckily there's a lot of these little kind of rock bridges to get over there, because as it did mention at the beginning of this area, a little tutorial thing, because of our limited movement right now, we can only go up cliffs that are so high. So if we end up falling to the bottom of this area, it can be quite a path to get back up again, because you may notice there's a lot of deeper ravines that we're kind of skipping over right now, because it would be a huge pain to get back out of them. This is generally about as high as we can climb. So you have to really kind of judge whether we can make a certain jump.
You know, it's not the ability to use magic that matters, it's what you do with it.
Yeah, thanks. Kinda guessed that already.
Good, and I won't need to tell you again.
This ought to be
Obviously,
good.
we'll have to practice a bit more with Bind as well.
Gotcha.
The advantage is ours.
Because we want that number to get up.
Now's your chance.
On it.
This looks like a big one.
So we won't be wasting too much time fighting the smaller enemies around here right now. I just wanted to... because this is only a relatively small group. And here we can see a bit of a path to go on. So there's a quite obvious little path, so let's take it, shall we? Because of course, while this area is mostly chasm, there are certain areas. There's a lot of these guys who are quite dangerous right now because they're resistant to our magic, but also they have shields. They're most resistant from the front.
Get out of the
That
way.
makes them quite annoying to fight, especially because of these things that are firing from us from afar. So let's just get out of here, shall we? Because you see, there's actually... It's not those enemies we fought earlier that are doing it. There's something else firing fireballs at us, because you can tell they have a different pattern at how they're being fired. So some areas are just a little bit too dangerous to grind enemies in. So I believe it was these guys at these little mortars that were firing at us. I think. Not entirely certain, because they don't really fire them while we can see them. But I think that's where those fireballs were coming from.
Now's your chance.
Here it comes.
Yeah, there's an example of actually knocking the enemy down as well.
Oh yeah.
But we don't want to waste too much time here because we might get swamped. We don't know how many enemies are around here. So let's just get to the top, shall we? Because we're actually finally at our destination. Remember when that was kilometers away? Now it's only meters.
We must be getting closer. Don't expect any respite from here on in.
But Sila knows that. So now we have to do with 4 of these guys at once. Luckily though, we know the tricks to get behind their shields is not too bad. And of course Bind helps a lot with that as well.
Whoa.
And of course I banded him in the stupidest possible place where I can't really get behind him because of the stairs. That was me being an idiot, but yeah. Still worked. Well enough. It also helps as well, but it seems that knocking enemies down doesn't necessarily mean with the shield shot, but it's kind of hard to tell sometimes. I kind of like how they sort of magically like imbue their shield, their spears as well. Their whole moveset is a little bit Dark Souls really, and that's kind of fun. Like the imbuing of the spear thing is very reminiscent of how some of Dark Souls like enchantments tend to work. Or they're like magic in general. Now we've got past that defense, we can finally get into Sila's castle town.
Looks like some sort of mineral. And quite a special one at that.
Huh. Okay.
Yep, some Odvaha ore. Can't remember what that's for, but it's nice to have.
What's the matter?
Wondering if maybe there's a quieter way in than the front door?
Sure you're not getting cold feet?
No. Just learning to look before I leap.
But he's developing quite a tactical mind.
According to the floor plan, that's where the throne room is.
And that's where Sila will be.
There's the gate. Seems as good a way in as any.
Assuming it's not crawling with soldiers in there.
Perhaps we'll get lucky and discover they're all out on maneuvers.
We're not stupid, so we'll not be doing that.
Hey, that cliff.
The floor plan seems to show a narrow path running up it.
Another way in, maybe.
So, we're going to go up that path next time and actually face Sila in the next video. So we're finally at the boss.
Let's hurry up and find Sila, shall we?
But first, let's head into the sort of fast travel location so we can get here much easier.
For a while.
Wonderful. I, for one, can't wait to take a load off.
Take a load off what? Huh.
So it's good to finally be here. It's a relatively new castle as well. It's only about 100 years old. That's not very old as far as castles go. Like, well, the castle was built first, then, like, other industries built up around it. That's quite a cute little thing. Sila was trying to distance herself, but then people just came and was like, dude, you need weapons and stuff. Let us live here with you and build you stuff. I was surprised if that was part of what made her so self-aware before she went crazy. So let's fill up on healing drafts. And yeah, I'm not going to actually upgrade any of these cloaks at this point because again it's just too early and it would spoil the flow of getting new items because it would mean new items wouldn't be useful at all, so there'd be no point in equipping them because it'd naturally be weaker than the one thing we'd put all upgrade points into. We're also taking a look at some nails. But I can't really see anything that would be much more useful for the upcoming fight. Because increasing the surge thing would just result in us losing the current buff we have too early. Like, having the surge be a little bit slower actually is advantageous right now because we do more damage while the surge isn't full. So, I'll see you next time as we finally fight Tanta Sila. Goodbye. Also found the equip shift as well. So there we go, that's everything we need to do. So I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe, and also join my Patreon. Thank you for James Rossi for already doing so at the Bio Enchanted Legs tier.